Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 73 of the Galactic Space Podcast. My name is Nick, and sometimes when Tan is out capturing history, I am known as the Orbital Alliance. And I'm still just Tan, also known as Chasing the Milk. That's right. That was Tan. I'm not lying, I promise. That's right. We're back for another episode of this Space and Astronomy podcast. In case you didn't figure it out yet, Tan is not here tonight. It's just me. It's just Nick. And we're going to have a good time, but we're going to be missing Tan for sure. For those of you who don't remember or weren't part of this show recently, Tan is actually down in Florida, currently experiencing Artemis II up close. He drove down this past weekend and he is now kind of exploring the Space Coast area for the first time. And he's out having a good time taking a look at SLS on the launch stand at the launch site of Launch Complex 39B at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, which is really exciting. He was selected for the NASA Social opportunity to go and capture the event, which is super cool. So he's kind of down there ahead of it and just spending some time getting familiar with the area and taking some pictures. But more on that in a little bit. So we're gonna miss Tan tonight for sure. So you guys, I'm gonna ask you guys a favor who are hanging out with us in the chat. Do you guys want to be my co-host tonight? I think that would be pretty cool. So if you're here hanging out with us, you guys are now officially co-hosts, honorary co-hosts of the Galactic Windows Space Podcast. So that means I'm relying on you guys to have fun and talk about space a lot. Tell dumb jokes, preferably dad jokes, and do a lot of ah-ha-has for Tan because he's not here to do them. So I need you guys to do that for me, please. So yeah, with that, for those who are tuning in live, appreciate you being here over on YouTube. And those of you who are checking us out for the first time on the audio podcast, you can't see my face. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you finding the show and giving us your time. We do stream live every Monday night, 9 p.m. Central here on YouTube. So if you're listening, be sure to come hang out in person. Get to be a part of the community as we all have a good time. Here, I'm going to feature a comment here. There's the man himself hanging out and driving, y'all. There's Tan in the chat. So yeah, you guys, Tan will be here listening, maybe occasionally popping in the chat. But dude, we don't want you to die, so I need you to come back for the show. Save me, Tan. Don't leave me. Don't die in a ditch trying to, populate the chat with comments. Yeah, everybody say hi to Tan. All right, cool. So who's here with us tonight? Let's just do a little bit of a community shout out because that's always important. We got Sunshine Nate. I saw Jersey Starman, Tom Heil, Blue Eyed, Becca. I see Tanzanite, Ginger Zinger, Caitlin McLean. What is happening? I don't know if I missed anyone else. But either way, you guys, thanks for being here. So yeah, you guys, I'm thinking tonight might be a little bit shorter of a show. We'll see. We're going to hang out, have a good time, but I'm not worried about filling up an hour if we don't need to. I'd rather focus on just having some good, dense space news items to share with you guys, because this has actually been quite an active week for space and in several different pockets, mostly for space flight, which is something I'm like incredibly excited about all the time. So we got a good short list here. But you guys, if you have something that you have done this week regarding space, drop it in the chat. Did you walk outside and did you get to see the moon? Did you get to poke around and see Jupiter in the sky? I don't know. Like, did your kid learn something in school? I know there's a lot of space units going on right now. My kid is doing some space unit stuff in school, and it's been super cool. It's taking every bit of self-control I have to not be that like insane dad. Had forced my kid to like go back to school, and like other kids like, I saw the moon, and it's like, well, I saw Arcturus, and I saw the constellation of Cassiopeia, and then she's going to be the like Hermione Granger of the class because her dad is an overzealous idiot. But Yeah, but it's it's a good time. So maybe, yeah, what's going on in your life? What's happening? Tom Heil says big CMEs around midnight last night. That's right. We're gonna get into that tonight for sure. Did I say populate the chat? Yes, I did say populate the chat. Is there a problem with populate? Says Blue Eyed. Let's see. Nate says, I chased Saturn, Jupiter, the snow moon, and the sun. Dude, it's quite a haul. For those of you who don't know, Sunshine 8 in the chat is also a astrophotographer, content creator, huge following, beautiful content. You should definitely go check him out. So if you guys even step away from this show and go click on him and go subscribe to him if you're not, give him some support. Makes phenomenal videos. But that's super cool, dude. What was maybe your favorite of that lot? What was one of your favorite things? Becca Wow jumps in here saying, I looked at my clear skies briefly while getting inside from the -2-degree weather. Right. Emphasis on briefly, right? Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, we had the same thing here in Illinois, and you know, those like -30 wind chills definitely were not conducive of good stargazing conditions. And even now, it's like still a wee bit chilly. Let's see here. Caitlin McLean in the chat says there is a star party local to me this Saturday. I'll be going as long as weather permits. That's awesome. Winter star party, February. Very, very cool. What sorts of things will you guys be looking at? Do share with the class. Let me know. Oh, it'll be your first. Ooh, very, very cool. Tom Heil, also a space content creator over on TikTok. He said he live streamed the moon with @DobbsDork in Ohio from 1 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. last night, burning the midnight oil. If I ever heard it, man, you're following in Tan's footsteps. Holy smokes. That's so fun. That's really cool. You got to do that together. I think that's one of the most fun things to do when you're on TikTok live streaming is to co-host with somebody, especially when it's astronomical and you're both showing the same subject, because you get these different perspectives. I love to stream the moon on the telescope that I have on TikTok, and then do like a wide angle shot, but then have somebody else who has a better telescope and a better phone than I do. And then they can get the close-up shot. So you get these like multi-angle perspectives, but you also get to combine your chats and have a good time. So that's awesome. All right, let's catch up here. Sarah DeRosa in the chat says, my boyfriend saw a huge green meteor while I was on FaceTime with him. It was awesome. No way. Oh, that's so cool. I love when they have that color. Do you know if like there was like a lingering trail of glow behind it? I love when that happens. That reminds me of a time I was sitting at a stoplight and I saw a huge meteor just above the horizon looking north once, and it was like I happened to be looking at it at the right time. I was just zoning out. I was on the way home from work, and I was like, man, like if I was just like daydreaming this way or this way, I wouldn't have seen it. But there it is. So you happen to be on the right FaceTime call, facing the right direction. That's sweet. Nate says his favorite was Jupiter until the sun decided to have an X8 flare and steal the show. The sun is always attention hungry like that. Yeah, no kidding. It's definitely being a showstopper, show stealer, showstopper. There's got to be a better phrase, but it is trying to steal the show, 100%. Caitlin says you have no idea what we're looking at, but you'll be sure to come back with notes and picks. Please do. We'll feature it next week. If you have anything cool to share, please let us know. Nate also says he's been trying to capture the Galilean moon transits better and time-lapsed. That's cool. So for those of you who don't know, if you can observe Jupiter through a telescope, you can see 4 of its largest, most prominent moons. They're known as the Galilean moons because Galileo himself was able to observe and chart these moons all the way back in what I believe the 1600s, early 1600s, I think. And Steph, can you check me on that? I think you probably would know. 1610 was the invention of the telescope, right? But yeah, you can see them yourself very easily. Even with binoculars, you can see these moons. But what's cool is they rotate, all the time. They're always moving around. And if you stay long enough and observe long enough, you'll notice that they'll eventually be in a position where you can see the shadows of these moons cast on the disk of Jupiter, and you can capture these. And if you do enough imaging over time, you can create a time lapse, like Nate is saying, and he's trying to achieve that. I've never done it. I know a lot of people who have done transits of the moons, and they're incredible to see. I love it. Definitely on my bucket list. Sarah says it did have a little tail. Ah, cool. It's the best kind. Very, very, very cool. Let's see. Okay. Nate says 1610. He first viewed them. Nice. Okay. Confirmed. Very, very cool. Tom here, speaking of transits, Tom Heil in the chat says, I live streamed Ganymede and Io transits, which are two of the Galilean moons, both with the Great Red Spot. Nice. That is super cool too. Added bonus. That's not always the case, right? Because Jupiter, of course, has the Great Red Spot on it, which is this huge storm that's happening, this giant hurricane, which is the size of, I think we were discussing this recently. It's like 2 or 3 Earths and shrinking. But that is not always Earth facing, because Jupiter, I believe its day is about like 9.8 hours. So the spot sometimes is on the other side when we're observing it. So if you're lucky enough to have it be facing you with the spot and a transit, it's like boom, boom, double win. And Tom said he live streamed it. That's pretty cool. Way to go for sure. Nice. Well, you guys, let's dive in. So tonight's content is going to be focused primarily on kind of current events. Okay, space news, items that are happening relative to space, and there have been some bangers this past week. Let me tell you. So I've got a few queued up, and I'm going to kind of give some brief information on it, and then I'd love to discuss those things with you guys. So let me know your thoughts as I talk about them, and I'll do my best to keep up with it. It's a little tricky to talk and read, but I'll do my best. And that will hopefully be super fun. And then those who listen or watch the show later will have a much more rich experience. So yeah, like I said, you guys are my co-hosts tonight. I'm banking on you to help me out, fill in the space, fill in those gaps. So let's see here. Okay. First up, space news items. Let's talk about this. You guys, SpaceX has officially acquired xAI. And you guys are probably, most of you are probably like, what the heck are you talking about, bro? So this is actually pretty big news. First time anything like this has really happened. So let's give you the brief rundown. So SpaceX, of course, is the rocket company and launch provider that Elon Musk is in control of. They, of course, provide Falcon 9 launches commercially. They're currently creating Starship, and they are also the owners of Starlink, the space-based internet service. And them being kind of owned and controlled by mostly by Elon Musk. He also, has several other companies, of course. So xAI is one of them, and that one was founded primarily to sort of. I'm going to be probably really poor at summarizing this, but because of the platform X, the social media platform, which used to be Twitter, they wanted to create a kind of a competing AI platform, which ended up becoming Grok. Yeah, Jersey, that's right. Yeah, is Grok xAI? That's correct. So Grok is their AI kind of chatbot, LLM, right? Large learning model, right? I don't know enough about about AI in general to speak confidently on it, but just for the sake of the conversation, Grok is their model. I've used it. It's really great. But it's kind of like ChatGPT. So xAI is developed to push that model even further. But I know they're doing a bunch of other applications as well. But SpaceX acquiring that is kind of a first, because obviously all these AI companies, Google doing their thing, and with Gemini, Apple's trying to do their Apple Intelligence, and X with Grok, and there's so many others. It's like, when do these kind of come into full use? They're more than just search engines or chat bots, like, practical application, right? But obviously with Elon's ecosystem, he's got Tesla, and he's been pioneering. Well, they have been pioneering the autopilot and FSD, full self driving. Vision based uh, neural net learning, and trying to train fleets of cars to drive themselves safely and effectively. Those same models are in all of his projects now. And eventually I think they're all going to kind of come together. They're all going to merge. And this is kind of the first step for that. So SpaceX, of course, is a launch provider and internet service provider. Most of its revenue is from Starlink. It's a global internet service, which is crazy considering they're a rocket company. But they launched their own stuff, which is the bonus. So them acquiring an AI company is interesting. It's like, well, what are you going to do with that? Like, what does that actually mean? But essentially, they want to move all of the computing and the cooling into space, because of course these AI models and platforms are only going to get larger, and we all know for the most part that they're going to be they're creating problems now here on Earth with energy. They're driving up energy bills with all these kind of data farms and the processing, the GPU farms and everything that are here on the surface. They generate heat, they take a lot of water, and they're massive energy sinks. So Elon wants to move those into space where they can be cooled, and SpaceX will be the launch provider for those farms with Starship. So they can move massive amounts of equipment, tons and tons, like huge amounts of tonnage of equipment into space where it can be cool. And you don't have to worry about that being on the surface. And it's all powered by solar, which would relieve a lot of that energy problem and crisis that we're starting to experience here with AI platforms. So really interesting. So it's definitely the next step towards that experience. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing companies like Blue Origin merging with another AI platform down the line. That's just my prediction. I haven't heard that anywhere, but I think it's going to start to be mimicked. And I've said this before on the show. A while back, I listened to a seminar kind of about the upcoming space industry, space race. It's like Space 2.0, really. There's going to be a boom in industry, and we're just on the cusp of it. Like commercial spaceflight is ushering us into that. It's known as the cislunar space range or territory. So the space between Earth, low Earth orbit, and the moon, but also, I guess, including the moon. But there's so much potential for business and industry, and even beyond. But at least for now, the next step is like right here in cislunar space. There's gonna be so much it's gonna be a multi-trillion-dollar business that doesn't exist yet. But something like this is, with SpaceX acquiring xAI, this is the next step that is going to usher in that. Because once they set up the model and set the precedent for, hey, we can start relieving all these problems here on Earth for AI models, and this is going to reduce all these issues, everyone else is going to follow suit. And boom, there you go. You get one, you get two, you get 10, you get 100 companies who all want to launch, and they're all going to be creating these products that rely on these services. And boom, there's your exponential gain in money and driving business and industry. So pretty crazy. I think it's wild. So they're saying here that the combined entity value of SpaceX with XAI is going to be $1.25 trillion, which is only a little bit of money, chump change if you're listening to me. But yeah, here's a note from Elon himself, just to give you some more direct reference. So Elon described it as creating the most ambitious vertically integrated innovation engine on and off Earth. So integrating AI with rockets, Starlink, and direct to mobile communications, which is happening, I think, with T-Mobile right now, and real-time information, free speech via the X platform. A big focus is on building data centers in space and orbital computing to power massive AI training needs, potentially using Starship for deployment and solar power in orbit, which is basically what we've been saying. So pretty wild for sure. So I thought you guys should know that, because I mean, if life as we know it will change rapidly, it already is. Like I remember when ChatGPT kind of came to the surface a couple of years ago. Was that 2, 3 years ago? And I was like so dismissive of it. Because I mean, I remember as a kid using like chatbots on AOL Instant Messenger and being like having so much fun with it. But that's what I always thought this was always going to end up being. It's just going to be some like scripted prompts, and it's not going to be that creative. But look at the power that these models have, and to kind of integrate it into space and the processing, just the sheer processing ability is going to help solve problems as we venture out into space. Not only with navigation, but exploration as well. So very, very cool. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next topic. Leave that one to stir and percolate in y'all's minds. Um, so yeah, let's talk about keep it on SpaceX for a second here because they also did something really big this past week. So you guys, we were talking about SpaceX Starlink being their satellite provided internet service, and you can subscribe to that as an ordinary person. You get a dish, sent to you, and then you just subscribe to the service as you please. You can take it on the go. You can be in the middle of the ocean and have internet, high speed internet, which is insane. You can be in a forest. Very cool. You can be in the boonies and tack it on top of your trailer or your van, and snap, you are playing Call of Duty in no time. Very, very cool service. But they're also kind of turning around and offering something very new for the first time, and they're calling it Stargaze. So have you guys heard of Stargaze yet? It hit the headlines just this week. But what it is they're calling it a space situational awareness system. And what it is basically the 9,600 satellites that they have in orbit right now, which is a lot. I think almost half, if not more, of the accounted or the total satellites in space right now are SpaceX Starlink satellites alone. They all have these sort of star tracking components and hardware built into their Starlink satellites, and they need those to kind of track where they are and triangulate their position as it is. So it's already built in. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to observe, like, the data that they collect with that star tracking device actually can detect if there are transits of other satellites in low Earth orbit. So kind of like what we do with exoplanets, where they see if a planet goes in front of the star and measures the brightness of that star. It's kind of a similar thing, but much more locally. So these sensors can detect if there are other satellites in orbit, which is awesome. So basically, they're taking all that data in real time, almost 10,000 satellites, and they are giving that information away for free to all launch providers and all satellite operators in order to prevent satellite collisions and to increase the level of safety of satellites in space, which is a huge issue as we increase the number of satellites in space and we increase the potential risk for space debris just from launches or failures or old satellites. Now we can have it's like adding 3D vision into a 3D problem when we've only ever really been able to see in 2D. Very, very cool that they're doing this. So this is how it's listed. It's near real-time tracking of positions and velocities of objects in orbit, rapid conjunction screening, which is a collision risk assessment on the order of minutes rather than hours or days. So they can get precise data to plan avoidance maneuvers quickly. It's been battle tested in real scenarios, including quick reactions to those to close approaches. And they said one reported near miss resolved within an hour. So this is really, really amazing to have, and they're not gatekeeping that information. So they're basically like offering their eyes up to everyone else, which is insane. Yeah, Jersey Starman in the chat says, very nice gesture, but it's becoming more difficult to launch due to their constellation of Starlinks. Glad they found a free fix for everyone. Yeah, totally. I would agree. I don't know enough about the density of the current amount of satellites. I know there's a lot, but I also know space is really huge. Even the low Earth orbit, volume, so to speak. I think that each satellite that launches, the equation just becomes a little trickier each time. And yeah, I'm curious how they're going to mitigate that as time goes on. Even within the next 5-10 years, I'm sure that number is going to double, especially with Blue Origin doing their constellation. I'm sure they're not going to be the only one who follows SpaceX. So by the end of the decade, it'll probably be double. By the end of 2030s, triple. I don't know. I really don't. And I can only imagine the people who have the jobs of tracking satellites and who are calculating launch trajectories to make sure any rocket safely gets off the planet. Man, those are some smart people. And I am not one of them. So hats off to them. 100%. So yeah, Stargaze, very, very cool advancement. Let's see. Okay, next up. There's some mentions in the chat already about this, but the sun has been burping quite a bit. Drink too much Mountain Dew, you guys. Our star is just going crazy. It feels like we never can catch a break, right? There's never a dull moment. If you guys have been following the show, we've talked quite a bit about the solar activity and the solar cycle, and how it's kind of just over the crest of solar maximum. It's an 11-year cycle that the sun is perpetually in. And I believe we're referring to this one as cycle 25. This is kind of the 25th cycle we've observed and recorded data for. And it's one of the most active we've ever recorded, which is really exciting. We're learning a lot. We're observing even more. And it's been quite the show for us here on Earth. We get to see all these aurora displays, which is cool. And going back all the way to May of 2024, October of 2024, gosh, we had a couple last year, and this year already in January we've got a show of aurora, and now just this week we've had a couple more flares. So there was an X 8.1 class flare, which I think I heard is possibly the third strongest flare observed in the last 20 years. There were also X 1.0, X 2.8, and X 1.6 observed in the last 2 days, yesterday and today. Big group cluster and the sun just like constantly belching in Earth's direction, which is optimistic for aurora chasers. But of course, we won't know how that goes until it hits us. So we're going to see what happens. But X flares are kind of like the primo flare. So when the sun burps, it ejects material into space. We kind of can measure this as we observe it. And we get to see, we kind of assign it by letters. It's like C class, M class, and X class. And X is being, the big top one. And then the higher the number, the more intense. So X 8.1, like, yo, dude, crazy town. That's huge. So yeah, you guys pay attention in the next couple of days, because if that flare does interact with Earth and it doesn't miss us, or it doesn't, graze the atmosphere or the magnetosphere, if it's a direct hit and it's properly aligned with us, we could have a really amazing aurora. I don't want to give any sort of numbers, because I don't have them in terms of like solar storm ratings. Those we won't be able to accurately assign until the day of. But the next couple of days, hopefully all of you have clear weather. Pay attention to Space Weather Live. It's an app. It's a free app. Lets you measure and observe some of those metrics and charts. Very important. And then pay attention to some of your favorite aurora chasers. I always like to recommend Justin with High Hopes Aurora, who's been a guest with us twice on the show. Great dude. I've gone up to visit him in Canada, but also Vincent Ledvina, the Aurora guy. He's out in Alaska. Aurora experts for sure. And those are the guys you want to listen to, because they will be able to read every bit of data that you can't and tell you what to expect and where to be and when to go out. So very important. But I don't think we're kind of out of the woods yet with these crazy solar events. Just because we kind of passed that solar maximum window doesn't mean the sun's going to just like shut off. It's going to slowly taper over time over the next several years. But it's clear it doesn't want to give up, which is great. But it can be a little bit grueling. I mean, I'll be honest. Like sometimes I'm like really excited about these X flares and all these huge flares that happen, and I'm like, oh man, again, because these nights can be so stressful as a photographer and an observer of aurora, because it usually means drop whatever you're doing, because it's now going to happen within like 1 to 3 days or something. Your plans don't matter, and you're probably going to be up all night. And then you're gonna, of course, gonna have to deal with the weather. It's the middle of winter here in the northern hemisphere, so we're of course like, do I really want to go and chase all night in -10 biting wind? Wind chills. Probably not. I'd much prefer it to be August, but it's just what it is. So if you are going to do it, remain diligent, and I hope you persevere. And let's take advantage of every chance we have, even if it can be kind of exhausting. But I'm gonna try to have fun if we do get a chance to go out. Tan jumping in, he said, "Just made it home, enjoying the podcast, dude. That's great. What's it like being on the other side, man? You are on the other side." Man. I do want to take a quick moment to promo the show here. If you are enjoying tonight's program, would appreciate you giving the stream a like over on YouTube and subscribing to the Orbital Alliance, where we host the Galactic Window Space podcast. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes. You can hit notify me or hit the notification bell in your phone, your email. You can get notifications like, hey, the Galactic Window is live. You can come hang out with us every single week, which is always a good time. Thank you for your support in that way. Tan says it feels kind of nice to be in the chat, right? You want to go back to being a normie? Lilac Child in chat. How's it going? Welcome in. It just needed to burp. Yep. Somebody on the backside is giving the sun a little pat on the back. It's just belching. Man. Okay, next item. Let's see what's going on. Okay, we mentioned Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos's rocket company. They have been most commonly known for their New Shepard rocket, which is a suborbital commercial spaceflight rocket, which has been taking humans on suborbital flights, which means they do little hops out above the Kármán line. They come back down. They don't go all the way around the Earth, and then they land, in a capsule. And they've been reusing the rocket stage as well. I think they have 38. They did NS-38, New Shepard 38, just very recently, and they take up to 6 people at a time. Some very prominent people have launched on SpaceX, SpaceX, Blue Origin. Like William Shatner, which is crazy. He's been up into space. Katy Perry's been in space. I mean, there's been all these different prominent figures and people of influence, which is cool. But they announced that they're going to be kind of standing down from New Shepard flights for at least 2 years, like no sooner than 2 years, so that they can focus on landing on the moon, which is a really, really ambitious shift for them. So to kind of explain a little bit around that, give you some context. So Blue Origin got a contract in competition with SpaceX for NASA. So they both were awarded contracts to support the Artemis II mission, which is the lunar landing of people on the surface of the moon. SpaceX will be creating the HLS, the Human Landing System, Starship version, and Blue Origin will be creating the Blue Moon landing system. And these will be the craft that take humans from Gateway, the orbital space station that they're going to be putting around the moon. So NASA will send astronauts on Orion. Orion will take them to Gateway, and then they'll get out of Orion onto Gateway, and they'll get onto one of either the Blue Moon or Starship, and then they'll land onto the moon and start creating a permanent human presence at the south pole of the moon. So Blue Origin, of course, needs to allocate as many resources as possible to help make that happen. They've been doing New Shepard flights, which is great, but hopping suborbitally does not get you much closer to practicing orbital flights, let alone, translunar injection flights. So they have also been doing New Glenn development, which is named after John Glenn, New Shepard being named after, is it, gosh, why am I totally blanking? Alan Shepard. There we go. Alan came to my head. Named for, these early astronauts in the NASA astronaut corps. But New Glenn has launched once, and that's their orbital rocket. So they can, it's built to take things to, deep space, which is great. But they have no system proven about taking stuff to another celestial body yet, like Blue Moon. So I can imagine that every penny matters, even when you're Jeff Bezos and the Blue Moon or Blue Origin team. So they're going to be kind of standing down from New Shepard, shifting everything to New Glenn and Blue Moon. And hopefully that means they can expedite that process and help make it safer and more successful and more efficient in terms of timeline. So it is a little bit sad to see kind of the commercial spaceflight industry taking a bit of a hit right now because I think compared to them, Virgin Galactic was the only other one doing it, and they haven't done a launch in a while. Basically, now there's not going to be any commercial spaceflight happening because of this, and aside from SpaceX, with Axiom and other missions, but yeah, in terms of like everyday people, I guess everyday is the wrong term because even these people are technically affluent in some way. You know what I mean? Like slightly more non-career astronaut people get to go on these things. It's just not going to be happening for some time unless another provider comes along, which I don't think they will right now. So I'm going to see what happens. I think it's going to be worth paying attention to. Let's see. Here's a note from Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp. He said it was a tough but necessary decision. New Shepard has achieved great success and will forever be our first step. Resources are being redirected to lunar programs. So yeah, they've carried, I believe, so they had 98 people taken into space on New Shepard, and it says some of them were repeats. So a couple people went twice in that 98 number. So it's probably fewer individuals, like unique individuals. But yeah, it's a pretty high success rate. I think they had one failure and it was uncrewed. So, good track record. It is a good first step, not only for Blue Origin, but for commercial spaceflight in general. It's a delay and a setback to some degree, but it's not the end, not in my opinion. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting time in the space world. But I want to take a quick break here and say hello to some of you in the chat. SpaceVid 2026 jumped in. Hey, how's it going? It's a big fan of you, man. I have a telescope, and you and Sunshine Nate inspired me to use it and make vids for it. Thank you, man. Oh, that's awesome. You're very welcome. I'm glad that whenever amount of my content has been of assistance, that makes me really happy. And I hope that you're having fun and you're learning, and that you're able to share that same information with other people one day. So I guess kind of the goal is to get as many people interested in space as possible. And it's kind of this like collective of intelligence. We're kind of a hive mind, and then kind of spread and kind of pollinate throughout the galaxy, right? Very, very cool. I love that. Oh yeah, Tom Heil. I love this. Thanks for bringing this up. I completely forgot about this. Worldview balloon capsule flights are more interesting to me. Didn't they get canceled? Am I remembering that right? For those not familiar, Worldview balloons flights were supposed to be a thing. So basically it's like a giant balloon that has a capsule tied under it, and they lift it, and it has the support to take you into, I think, above the Kármán line. So you'll be up in space, a little less exhilarating than a rocket flight. But then you have these beautiful views of the curvature of the Earth. You get up super high, higher than a plane. I thought they canceled it. I could be wrong though. So maybe if somebody could hit the Goog real quick and find out what Worldview is up to, if they still exist, and update us in the chat, that'd be helpful. Man. Okay. Last item for tonight that we're going to hit, probably the most prominent and relevant of this particular week going into next, but Artemis II, the return of humans to the moon in some capacity. I know I've been gigged a lot for saying we're going back to the moon, but there's a big fat asterisk on that. I get it. But we are returning to lunar orbit, hopefully next week. Now we did a whole episode 2 weeks ago about Artemis II, and we did a big breakdown of how that mission is going to run, who's on it, where it's going to go. And it's very exciting because this is the first time we're going to be sending a crew of people out of low Earth orbit since 1972 on Apollo 17. So, excuse me. Very, very historic week. It was originally slated to open the launch window at Kennedy Space Center in Florida this Friday, February 6th, but they delayed that a couple of days. So I think as it stands, the launch window will open on February 8th on is that Sunday? Um, can I math right? Yes, which is pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. But we have our very own Galactic Window correspondent on location, as I mentioned at the top of the episode. Everybody's favorite co-host Tan is down in Florida checking it out, and I actually want to show you guys a picture that he took tonight. You guys from I believe Titusville. Tan, if you're in the chat, please correct me. Were you in Titusville for your stream tonight? I think he streamed this on TikTok, but I'm going to show you guys a picture. Let me drop myself out here. All right, you guys, Tan took this, you guys. Tan took this. That is the moon rising, probably like 2 degrees above the horizon. And that is the SLS Orion rocket, the Artemis II rocket, right there on the launch pad, with the moon rising above it. Holy smokes and a half. Okay, confirmed. Titusville from Tan in the chat. Look at this shot. Are you kidding me, dude? Oh, man. Look, Ma, I made it. Oh my gosh. It's insane. So what Tan did was he used the telephoto lens on his camera, and he's just across the water from Merritt Island in the town of Titusville, and he zoomed all the way in, and he got this shot. And I think Tan, were there a bunch of people there? Like, I'm assuming there's just people lined up taking photos of it constantly, and these chase shots, people are just constantly, grouping up for. But absolutely remarkable. Like, I think the way I was texting with Tan, the way I kind of was saying it to him, was like, dude, like, you're literally capturing history. Like, it's been over 50 years since we've made an attempt to launch people to the moon, and I only wish that we could have been around to photograph the Apollo launches, or to photograph the moon by a Saturn V on the launch pad. You are capturing history, human history, not just like, oh yeah, this is like local, Missouri Rotary Club, or whatever. This is human history, and you are capturing it in real time. And you did this, like, you did that. You captured that shot. I don't care what the quality is off that stream or the camera or whatever, however you capture that, dude. Frame that, print it, preserve it, put it in a time capsule, bury it, send it to the moon. It's just remarkable, dude. So yeah, Artemis 2 hopefully will be launching in less than a week. There's a high likelihood for delays. We'll see. They did a wet dress rehearsal today, which means they kind of practice every procedure, including fueling of the rocket and the countdown, just to make sure everything's functioning. So they did this a week in advance. And this helps them mitigate any technical issues, considering it's the first time that this rocket has been assembled. There's nothing that has been reused about it. So they're like, hey, we gotta fuel this thing up, test all the valves and the seals and the pressures and the temperatures and everything. Got to make sure all works. Not to mention, it's been kind of uncharacteristically cold in Florida this week. So, what do they do when it's not 70 degrees and it's only 30 degrees? Does that change the conditions for the rocket with, expansion and contraction of materials? Crazy. So they get to do this. And I guess there was a delay today. They kind of caught an issue, maybe with a valve of some sort. I think they resolved it and they were able to complete. That's the last time I checked on it. So it's a really, really big deal. And I think we're in pretty good shape. But because there are humans on board, Artemis 2, I think there's probably a very high chance they will delay it, either due to weather or due to some technical problem in the 11th hour. So be ready for that to happen. I would say it's a pretty high chance they're going to play it extra cautious. They do not want any issues with the crew. So that's happening this week. And I'm sure next week when Tan's back, we'll get a chance for him to give us kind of his firsthand experience with watching the rocket launch, and he'll probably have some footage for us that he's captured and some new pictures. He's really kind of, our eyes and ears on this event, which is so cool. Like we are all, I think, so lucky to have that chance to have him share that stuff with us. So it's going to be very, very big week. And the thing I said in the episode 2 weeks ago, I'm going to reiterate it again, is you guys, if you know about Artemis II, if you even have a little tiny bit understanding of what this really is and what it means, talk with people about it. Because I don't think enough humans on this planet know it's happening at all. Most people, the average person, certainly in America, and it's our own rocket going, I don't think people have really any clue that that we're sending people back around the moon. And even if they did, most people don't care. And that is like the most heartbreaking thing. Like right now, I can feel my chest just like collapsing on itself as I say that. But I think, you guys, it's up to us to help spread that information for people to hear, so they know, oh, maybe I should tune in with my family to this live stream. People are going to be around the moon. That's wild. I wonder what we're going to get to see. It's the sense of wonder and exploration and joy that we get through something like this. And I think especially right now, when everything really seems so bleak and just downright dark, in general in the world, I know there's arguments for this being extravagance, but I assure you it is not. This is a key component for advancing the human species, which will eventually contribute to the relief, I think, of the things that are making life feel so dark right now. And we need to cling to the few things that we have that bring us joy and wonder and curiosity. And this is one of those things. So if you have the chance to even just tell one coworker, one family member, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your kids' friends, when they're coming over to play, like, hey, you guys excited for the Artemis launch on Sunday to go back to the moon? Tell them why. Tell them why it matters. It's a cool way to bring a little bit of light to this world, and I think that we're going to be stepping into the next chapter here with some more optimism. The more people that know. So, anyway, that's my message, and that's coming up. So, it's been, as you can tell, a very, very busy week for space, and there's always more. There's definitely more. I certainly can't cover it all here. But I hope you guys are excited for all of these things in some way, or at least excited to have learned about them. So you guys, if you're still hanging out with me in the chat, let me know which of the things we talked about tonight was the most interesting to you. Was it the solar flares that are coming up? Is it the Stargaze information that SpaceX is doing? Is it Artemis II? Let me know. I want to hear it, and I will share it. Man, very, very, very cool. And I'm going to do one more quick plug here for the show. You guys, appreciate you guys hanging out, but some of the best ways that you can support the show are take a little bit more effort, but trust me, they go a long way. Liking the video, clicking that thumbs up, subscribing to the Orbital Alliance here on YouTube. Big difference. And you can also click the notification bell and make sure you get notified every single week. Maybe click the little notify me button every time we have a stream, and then you'll get notifications. If you want to take it to the extra step, you can support us with memberships, and you get some little perks just to help sweeten the deal. Nothing too crazy, not required at all. But that's always there for an option if you want to help us keep the show alive. Lilac says, I didn't know a lot of stuff going on, so this helps keep me in the loop. Yes. Mission accomplished. That's the goal. Really, really glad that made a difference. Man, so cool. All right, you guys, let's call it there. Let's call it a show. A little bit of a tighter runtime, but I'm okay with that. Hopefully you guys are too. We'll be back next week. Hopefully me and Tan, hopefully not just me. But we'll see, because Tan will probably still be in Florida and fresh off of history with Artemis II launching. So we'll be back next week, February 9th, 9 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube, episode 74 of the Galactic Windows Space Podcast. coming in hot. Thank you all for listening. Love you all. And we will see you on the other side.